Green movement is still very alive and well because of this administration. They have huge amounts of money. In the Green movement, as Holly Swanson has articulated in her book, Set Up and Sold Out, has really been, the Green movement has been captured by the Communist Party. And that was a goal, by the way, of Lenin to do, and Stalin, frankly, to do precisely that. And they've been very successful at it. The Green movement is a movement that started out with the right kinds of goals, of intelligent, common sense use of the things that we've been given by God, I believe, as stewards of this great planet Earth. And it's been taken so far to the extreme that you get the Oregon Environmental Quality Commission that decided the other day to put in place water standards stricter than the Clean Water Act, so strict that Mother Nature can't meet those standards. It's absurd, and that's what happens is we lose a little more of our freedom as those illogical and non-commonsensical ideas get put in play. And that gets back to this whole Agenda 21 from the United Nations 1990 World Conference that has led to these local regulations for stream buffers and those types of things that are happening in Oregon communities right now. Stream buffers, where you lose your private property right to do anything with your property within X amount of feet of a stream. This is happening all over Oregon. And we in the Tea Party movement, through Americans for Prosperity and the 912 Project and the Patriots and others, we have become trained on these issues, and we're fighting these battles on regulatory freedom at the local level, in cities and counties all over Oregon, and we're winning. And that's the exciting thing about we the people taking back government, one community at a time. And you have to fight these battles at the local level. And that's what's exciting to see happen, because our movement, Veronica, is maturing. Our movement is growing. We're building new capacities in our movement. Our members of this Tea Party movement are getting elected to city councils. They're getting elected to county commissions, to water districts, and they're taking those common sense founding fathers' values and they're putting it in play at the local level.
That's obviously a threat to anybody who's like for big government, whether you're a socialist, Marxist, a liberal, what did I miss?
You pretty much covered my socialist, Marxist liberalism, because that's really what it is, all rolled in one, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's different degrees and factions. You know, I know some people they're liberal, they're not a Marxist.
Well, it's all being rebranded as progressivism.
Yeah, very true. That's a great way to put it. A lot of people are being deceived when they say they're liberals. But the way the president is demonizing those people, we send our tax dollars to him, and in turn, he demonizes us. He demonizes any opposition. At first, it started with George Bush, and now it's anybody else who doesn't agree with him. It could be the Supreme Court justice, very disrespectfully. And when a Tea Partier asked, why do you talk to us that way, he said, well, you know, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, you know, you guys call me a socialist, you know, and other things. And it's like, you know, a president is supposed to be classier than that. George Bush never criticized his opposition.
Well, Jimmy Carter never did that. Bill Clinton did some of it. It was Bill Clinton's surrogates who really engaged in the politics of personal destruction. And Obama's inner circle and himself personally have taken that to new heights. Remember, President Obama, as he describes in his own autobiography, was heavily influenced by the writings of Saul Alinsky, who dedicated his book, Rules for Radicals, which I have a copy, to the original radical, he said, Lucifer. So if you look at, absolutely.
Does it say that in the book?
It does. It says it in the
foreword
to the book.
That's Obama's book.
Well, it is one, as he acknowledges, it's one of the influences in his life that profoundly impacted. As a U.S. Senator, I think he was U.S. Senator for some 148 or 180 days before he became president. He voted for the Bush budgets, actually the Pelosi and Reid budgets, because remember, Pelosi and Reid controlled the House and the Senate under George W. Bush for Bush's last 2 years. They're the ones that started the increase in spending. So when he blames this economy and on Bush, he voted for those big budgets. He voted for TARP. And the new media is the only people that are talking about that. And that's one of the things we need to do in your show, what I do on my radio show, in the Capitol Watch, is to educate the voters to these issues. So when voters are listening to his rhetoric and then are seeing in the new media that people are challenging it, we educate them to the truth, to things that really happened. And they then can make a judgment. Do I want to continue to support this president, or do I want to go a different direction?
Okay, here's another interesting question. Have you heard of this? While he calls the Tea Party's terrorists, or implies it and lets his people around him do that, has anyone brought up, or do too many people know of the fact that his cousin Odinga, who he's buddies with, he talks to all the time, committed terrorism when he lost an election against all the Christians? And there's pictures all over the website. I think it was in 2007.
No, that you'll never see that.
Does that not matter?
Well, it matters.
It matters to me a lot.
Of course it does. It would
I wonder
absolutely
who
matter.
Obama is. He seems to compliment. I'm not calling him a Muslim. I really don't think he has a religious affiliation, but New Age, in my opinion. But he spends more time complimenting Muslims than I don't think I've ever heard him compliment a Christian. Have you?
Yeah, no, not that I can recall. Maybe we've both
Yeah,
missed
maybe
that. I'll
we've
try to
missed
give
it.
him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay,
but
yeah.
he certainly does seem to bend over backwards to appeal to the Muslim faith. Now,
Yeah.
you would understand some sensitivity to that, since he's a quote-unquote former Muslim,
Yeah.
which means that they ought to be trying to kill him because you're under sentence of death. Believe me, I was in West Africa in a Muslim nation,
Yeah.
Mauritania, with World Vision helping drill freshwater wells for people in the Sahara Desert. And I'll tell you that you are under sentence of death from the government of Mauritania, because that's what we were told, if you profess any other faith other than Islam. So there ought to be fatwas being issued by Awlaki and Zawahiri and all these other clerics out there in the Muslim Brotherhood against Barack Obama, but it doesn't seem that there are. But what's interesting to note here is that on this issue of faith, the president has rarely gone to church in claiming again to be a Christian. Now, you don't have to be a Christian and go to church, in my personal opinion, as a Christian. But I will say this, you're kind of known by the company you keep.
Yeah.
And you're, if you're out playing golf all day, I suppose you can commune with the good Lord on Sunday morning playing golf. But doggone it, it just doesn't look good. And I'd like to see this president, I really would. I would like to see this president, I think, do the right things. It would be good for America in the long run.
Yeah,
And I don't think he is. And I think it's because he has a personal philosophy that doesn't understand the greatness of America. And that saddens me.
Yeah.
Because we are the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And again, I go back to our founding fathers. And they laid for us an opportunity.
Yeah.
And as much as this president had hope and change as his theme the last time around, people bought into it. And many of the liberal detractors now that he has, like Maureen Dowd of the New York Times, are starting to write about how, frankly, they realize that this man did not have the experience to be elevated to the highest office of the land. And it's fascinating to hear liberals now admitting that.
Yeah. Well, that is encouraging and very nice. The revolutionary the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was real hope in that. And the Tea Party that we see now is just kind of a different generation of that type of philosophy.
It is, but it's being driven by the same basic issue of the original Boston Tea Party in Veronica. That is a visceral reaction to the loss of freedom, to tyranny being driven down our throats by the British back in the original Tea Party movement, and today, because the perception of things like the Obamacare individual insurance mandate, that to many of us is tyranny. It's government telling us what temperature your home or your office building has to be, as is the code now in California. It's government telling us what light bulbs we have to buy.
This is all in the health care bill. Is that right?
Not all of it. It's a general philosophy. It's government telling us what type of car we have to drive, which is coming. In all of these things, is coming from an expansion of the regulatory state. It's what Obama is doing now with the EPA, what he's doing now with the Clean Water Act, with the Department of Labor and the National Labor Relations Board, and telling Boeing, you cannot go open a factory to build airplanes in South Carolina because you can produce them cheaper there. You got to do it in Washington State, suing Boeing over. It's those types of things that are creating another visceral reaction that I've never seen before, and that's in the business community, which usually plays it safe. They're very concerned now. They're deeply worried about the regulatory assault from the Obama administration. And it's real. It's not manufactured. It's not made up. And it's even causing Democrats supporting business people to pull their support from Democrats who are going along with this and start supporting candidates who are using common sense, limited government,